former agent and contributor to CBS, the great Joel Corry, from the agent perspective on all the deals that the Cowboys are trying to juggle. Good morning, Joel. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Title of the article is How Zack Martin and the Cowboys Can Find Common Ground in the Contract Dispute. So let's start off with that. How can they find this common ground to get Zack to finally join the team?
Well, one, it depends. First, Jerry's got to come off his hardline stance, which he hasn't been willing to do. There are a couple things people have done in the past where players who are disgruntled have multiple years left on their contracts. We just saw one a couple of weeks ago, Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals, 2 years left on his contract, gave him a one-year extension at $21 million per year. You could go that route. Another route would be to add incentives to the contract and or base salary escalator where Zack could make more money based on how he does individually or the team. The only problem is there's not a lot statistically qualify with offensive linemen, so mostly beyond play time. And another thing teams have done is they've moved money from a future year into the current year to try to placate a player as well. So you could go some route or combination of those three different approaches.
Whose side of the argument do you agree with more here?
Well, if Jerry hadn't have set a precedent, I guess 4 years ago, in doing a contract with 2 years left, I would fall more on his side, but you already established that with Ezekiel Elliott. So you kick the can down the road for practically every contract you have. So you push cap obligations into tomorrow anyway. So doing something for Zack Martin, to me, would be sensible. You don't have to commit to a long-term extension. Maybe it's 2 years max on an extension. Maybe it's one. Maybe or you go the incentive route. But I would do something.
Joel, if they don't think that he's got 3 years left, let's just say they think he's got this year or next year at the current, level that he's playing at, which would, justify the salary. Do you still extend to that year and worry about the cap ramifications then, or do you, just kind of play it out and eat the $23 million next year of a cap hit?
Well, he plays on the offensive line. There's longevity of offensive linemen. I know it's a different position, but Trent Williams was a little bit older when he became the highest paid offensive lineman at left tackle. You don't need as much agility to be a left tackle. Zack Martin was arguably the best interior offensive lineman last year. It's not showing signs of slowing down. So I would think you get 3 years left. I know injuries can happen, but he seems like a pretty safe bet if you're going to go to someone who's going to be approaching their mid-30s.
We're talking with former agent and now CBS Sports contributor Joel Corry. He wrote about Zack Martin's contract situation. Joel, you mentioned in your article that August 9th, which is tomorrow, is an important day in terms of extra fines or extra dollars that could be on the table for Zack Martin. Why is tomorrow important? And is there a limit? Is there any point where he just gets capped in terms of penalties and then the Cowboys can't really collect anything else?
Well, there's a monkey wrench in this equation because of the way the Cowboys have their conversion rights in their contracts. And a lot of teams have the right to automatically convert salary into signing bonus. So they have to go to the player. If the player doesn't agree to do it, he's in breach of contract. Usually for the money that's converted, you limit forfeiture or the right to recover any money to that specific year. With the Cowboys, for every player except Dak Prescott, you have rights which go beyond the conversion year. It goes through the rest of the proration. So you've got Zack Martin, who's done multiple contract extensions, I think 4 of them now. So each time he's done that, he's given the Cowboys rights to money they wouldn't have had otherwise if it remained base salary. Now, once you miss 6 days of training camp, 15% of the prorated amount of your signing bonus, your team has the right to recover. It's not mandatory like the daily fine of $50,000, but that's an additional penalty, and we're going to hit there's no more than 25% of the prorated amount in the preseason. We're going to hit that tomorrow. So there's $9.34 million of proration this year. So that's an additional $2.335 million the Cowboys could go after. And then if this extends into the regular season, that's another $2.335 million. And then once you get to a holdout past the fourth week, you lose 1/18 until you top out at the 9 point of proration this year. In addition to he's not making his weekly paycheck each time he doesn't play if it gets to that point. And one other thing, the Cowboys have these base salary escalators in their contract instead of workout bonuses. So even if you satisfy the workout percentage, you hit that amount, there's also a condition you have to show up to training camp on time and fully participate. So his base salary is dropping $500,000 as well because of the holdout.
We had a group dinner in California.
Yeah, could have used you for the bill.
And we had to do individual expenses. Could we have thrown that one large bill towards you and you could have broken? Would you have gotten enjoyment out of breaking that down?
No, I waited tables 3 years as a summer job in college, so I don't want to have anything to do with breaking down any type of bills.
Joel, I'm curious, when you break down all those different ways that he could, lose money and eventually, this is costing him a serious amount. Is there any point you think where the penalties incurred become so severe that it might start making sense for him to just say, all right, now retirement is a real threat?
No, you don't retire because every time you do the restructures the way the Cowboys have the language in, and it says maximum extent, forfeiture is the maximum extent permitted under that particular section of the CBA, they have the right to recoup all of that money that's prorated if you retire. They would only get it each year you stayed retired, the proration for 2024, if you stayed retired in 2024 and so forth. That's $28.66 million that Dallas could come after him for. He's not retiring.
Joel, how much do you think the $50,000 fine a day that they put in the CBA is going to impact these types of holdouts and contract disputes?
Well, it had been really impacting them a lot. You didn't see any last year. It's not forgivable for a player in a veteran contract. Nick Bosa on a rookie contract, it's $40,000 per day. It can be waived or reduced. That's why you started having players hold in, which is I'm going to come to camp. I'm either going to do nothing and tell you I'm doing nothing until I get a contract like T.J. Watt, or I'm going to come in, do nothing because I have some sort of injury. You can't really prove whether it's real or not. I have a soft tissue injury. My back hurts, hamstring, groin. So that's the way people are getting around the daily fine of $50,000 per day.
Joel, how do you see the Cowboys juggling these upcoming contracts of Dak, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons?
Well, with Parsons, you won't have a huge cap hit for a couple of years if you don't want to. I'd get him done as soon as possible because the longer you wait for a great player, the more it's going to cost you. So it's basically going to be Nick Bosa plus whatever Bosa gets. You can just add a percentage to that. CeeDee Lamb obviously would like a contract now, but he's not stressing it. You're never getting him below what you signed Amari Cooper for, and you're probably going to have to go $25 million per year plus on him. And Dak has the hammer. The way this thing is set up, Dak Prescott has all the leverage in the world. So, to me, Dak said if he rebounds and isn't throwing interceptions all over the place, and he's more like the 2021 Dak than the 2022 Dak, might as well give him a Blake contract and have him fill it out because he's got a $59.45 million cap hit next year, second in the league.
Ooh.
You can't stick a franchise tag on him in 2024. He's got a no-trade clause, and if things go wrong, there's going to be almost $62 million in dead money. So, you're caught between a rock and a hard place. And for those of you who are like, well, Tom Brady took massive discounts when he was a Patriot. Well, when he signed at 33 years old, he became the highest paid player in the league in 2010. Dak will be 31. Not the timing for Dak to be taking a big hometown discount.
We're talking with Joel Corry here from CBS Sports, former NFL agent, salary cap and contracts expert. Joel, specifically to the Dak question, then the way you mentioned there that Dak has all the leverage in these negotiations, and you say, if he bounces back and he doesn't have these interception issues, do you think it would be then the position for Dak at this point would be, you know what, I will just play this season out because my leverage is the same regardless, and so there is no drive for me to get a deal done. Right now, the drive is completely on the Cowboys side.
Yeah, his drive is he wants to be a Cowboy. Personally, and I would love to see him play it out, hit the open market, and we get an idea, if he's playing well, how much a quarterback unencumbered who is a top 10 quarterback could get on the open market. I'd love to see that. I don't think that happens. I think they work out an extension. So he never plays out the 2024 year. The last deal when he signed made him the second highest paid player in the league. He was third by the end of the year. You're going probably, we'll say Joe Burrow signs for 53. That's just $500,000 a year more than Justin Herbert. You're going to be over 50 a year for Dak. And if he plays great and if you win a Super Bowl, he can name his price.
Joel, why aren't, when it comes to the quarterback position specifically, why isn't there more pressure from the league for these guys like Burrow and Allen and Mahomes at the time, or Dak coming up, to hold out for a fully guaranteed contract?
Well, we've seen two fully guaranteed contracts under unusual circumstances. Kirk Cousins had to play out 2 franchise tags in order to get one. And Deshaun Watson was a quasi-free agent. He was never playing for Houston. They didn't want him. There was a bidding war. Cleveland was eliminated from contention, and it was basically, what do we have to do to get you to want to play here? They threw so much money at him. He had 4 years left on his contract. Voila, fully guaranteed contract. To me, the guy who dropped the ball was Russell Wilson. Those conditions were set up last year during training camp, to me, for a fully guaranteed contract. They gave up an arm and a leg to acquire him. New ownership group, which had extremely deep pockets. That's Walmart money. He didn't push for one. That meant Lamar Jackson was never going to get one because you had successive guys. Kyler Murray, cash poor team, wasn't getting one. Wilson didn't get one. Then once Jalen Hurts didn't get one, Lamar Jackson had to abandon that quest. Usually quarterbacks will play ball and do an extension in a contract year, or as we've seen with the first-round picks with 2 years left on their rookie deal. Nobody pushes the envelope. And Cousins, I don't think, set out to do it. The Commanders gave him a low-ball offer the first year, so he had no choice but to play on the tag. And then from my understanding, the way talk started out, they just decided we're not going to engage the agent and Cousins, and we're going to test the market in free agency.
Joel, can the running back market be corrected or saved for the position, or is it a little, too little too late given how recently the last CBA negotiation was?
I think it's too late because the CBA runs through the decade, and this isn't the first time we've seen the running back market have a downturn. In 2011, you had Adrian Peterson at a little over $14 million per year. Chris Johnson at a shade under $13.5. When you got to 2016, the top of the market had dropped to $8.25 million. Then started rebounding with Todd Gurley. I don't think you're going to see that rebounding because the league's become more of a pass-centric league. Quarterbacks have become more important because of that. Wide receivers take on added importance as well. Running back, unfortunately, is going to get the short end of the stick. Maybe it changes if you have a high-priced running back win a Super Bowl, but the last rushing champion to get to the Super Bowl was Sean Alexander in 2005. And we saw the Chiefs last year have a 7th-round pick as a running back, as their starting running back. So I think this is here to stay for the running backs.
Joel, thank you so much for the expertise and the knowledge. As always, keep up the great work. We look forward to having you on again in the future.
Sure. Thanks for having me, guys.
Joel Corry, former NFL agent from CBS Sports, on all the Cowboys contract drama.